we going?
All right. We're in. We did it.
Are we streaming and we're live?
Yes, we're streaming and
We're
we're
streaming on
live.
both. Okay.
Yes. Yay.
All right. So hi, welcome to Salt and Honey. I'm Leslie and this is Sloan. We host a podcast about comics, art, writing, and everything related to storytelling. So for the time being, we're moving to streaming, just because, to service the nature of our show, we can have like a visual aid so viewers and listeners can kind of have a reference for what we're talking about.
Yes.
But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about Chainsaw Man,
Yes.
and we're gonna get through the whole series. So if you haven't read it already, I would advise, if you're interested in reading it, not to watch anymore, just because I feel like for right off the bat we're gonna get into like major spoilers.
Yeah. We're going to
Just
nothing
just
is
a
going to be
word of
off
warning.
limits for this. um,
Yeah.
yeah, so should we give a little, plot synopsis for this for people that kind of want to know about it anyways, despite
Yeah,
spoilers?
sure. So it's written and drawn by Tatsuki Fujimoto. I think the only other series that people might know by him is Fire Punch.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's also being localized by Viz, but it was serialized in Shonen Jump from 2018 to the end of 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and it's around 11 volumes. I think it's 97 chapters exactly.
Okay, yeah.
But this is like kind of the first part of the story, and I think there's going to be a second part that's going to be serialized later on.
Mm-hmm.
It's been announced, Chainsaw Man 2. And there's an anime series coming out later. I don't really know when the exact date is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like a dark shonen action, gory horror,
Mm-hmm.
I would say. What do you think the genre is? What would you categorize it as?
Yeah, I would say like dark fantasy, horror, and then like shonen. I think that's a solid
Mhm.
genre combo. Yeah, and if like maybe you've read a little bit but haven't gotten through the whole thing, a little refresher. The plot is about Denji, and it's set in a world where devils or like monsters born from human fears are like running rampant and killing humans. And humans can form contracts with devils to like use parts of their
Yeah.
power. So yeah, we follow Denji, who's on the cover, and he made a deal with like a little dog devil named Pochita. Is Pochita the devil? Pochita's a devil, yes. I'm like
Yeah.
reading it off Wiki, and it's like he owns a dog named Pochita, but then I'm like, wait, no, anyway. He's a chainsaw devil, okay? So yeah, he is tasked. He like gets picked up by the Yakuza to become like a devil exterminator, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff, mostly devil killing, that happens.
Yeah, in the first chapter he's talking about how his father like had a debt to the Yakuza, but his father died, so he has
Mm-hmm.
to take on the debt, and he's like kind of unable to like sustain himself on that because he's like sold his organs and like he's working as a devil hunter to make ends meet. So right off the bat, he's like a very sympathetic character just because he doesn't have like the access to resources, and basically like his whole like reason of being is like he wants to be able to eat food on like a
Yeah.
daily basis, and like
Yeah.
he like never got to go to school, so he wants to go to school, and like he wants to meet girls and stuff like that. So he's like kind of this um he's had many bad things happen to him, so he's like a little bit stunted in a lot of different areas, and it's kind of the manga kind of explores that,
Mm-hmm.
especially like near the end. Like it talks about it way more, and about like the relationships he's formed with like all the different people he works with, because
Mm-hmm.
at the end of like the first chapter, that's kind of when he like dies and like makes a contract with Poshita, which he doesn't know at the time is like a contract.
Right.
And then that's kind of when he becomes a chainsaw man. He's like picked up by like government devil hunters, so he's like
Mm-hmm.
kind of legit now, but it's also a little bit, it's quite dubious.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's kind of that's I would say that's a gist of the plot because I feel like most of that happens in the first chapter or so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, how do you feel about Denji as our protagonist?
He's all right. I feel like he's a little bit opaque to me, but I think a lot of his motivations make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like a character I can relate to, he's not really he doesn't really like do that for me, but at the same time I kind of feel like that's not his purpose. What are
Mm-hmm.
yours?
Yeah, I think like at first I feel like it was very like the story felt very satirical, which
Yeah,
I feel like
totally.
which kind of like removed him emotionally for me. But as I got deeper into the story, like I kind of recognized like when you're in such like he comes from such a sad like a impoverished upbringing, and when you have like no
Yeah.
resources and like the only thing you can do like day to day is like you have to think about how you're gonna eat, then his personality like kind of made sense and I had more like empathy for him. um
Yeah.
and also as like the plot progresses, then you kind of start feeling like the kind of like the gravitas of like the body count in this manga, which is like basically like
Astronomical.
yeah, it's like so cartoonishly like extreme that it's hard to like feel anything about it. But as that kind of like it kind of got taken more seriously later on, then I kind of was like, okay, actually I kind of sympathize with Denji a little bit, and I find his personality more, I don't know, it made more sense and made me more a little bit empathetic with his character.
Yeah, because it's like you feel bad for him from like the get go, but I think there's a lot of different there's like a lot of character work going into it, kind of where he's like he's coming from like a really poor background, like basically all the cards are stacked against him, and he's gone through a lot of stuff, but he's still like a teen boy, so
Yeah.
he still has like all the like he wants to have fun with his friends, and he wants to have friends in the first place because he doesn't really have friends. He wants to like
Mm-hmm.
meet girls and like touch boobs and stuff like that. That's
Yeah.
kind of like the levity of the situation, even though I feel like most of it's quite dark, and I think the story itself is quite dark, and like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is very much not one of those like lighthearted, like fun shonen manga to read. It gives you very little like, I call them like vacations for my brain, like when there's kind of filler and like it's more lighthearted and a bit easier to digest.
Yeah.
And there's like none of that in this. But I also feel like it's quite like a short series, especially for like the first part.
Yeah, totally. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, what was like the hook for you? Like, when were you like, oh, okay, I'm gonna keep reading this? Because I kind of fell off after the first volume, first
Hmm.
two volume. Like, I think I read two volumes and I was like, okay, like I get it. And, like, I don't know. Yeah, like, what was the hook for you?
Well, I started reading this because I like kind of injured myself. It wasn't a major injury, but I couldn't really move. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I think I was just on my iPad. I had the Viz app on there. So like I was just looking for something to read, and I had heard about it just because I know a lot of friends that read it because
Mm-hmm.
they read Fire Punch. I heard good things about it, so I kind of just went for it. And I think I ended up reading at that point it must have been like up to probably like chapter 70-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So it was almost over. So I was like, oh, I got pretty into it. I think because I just kept going. I might have been reading like late at night, which I feel like is like, for some reason, that makes me read a lot more.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like whether it's like books or manga, I will go through something a lot faster. So I think that's kind of, I think like, the accessibility of having the chapters being localized, like I feel like it's like a simulcast type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at the same time, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But I think once I got caught up and like I was reading week by week, it was a little bit harder, and especially near the end. It's like the end is a little bit. Well, now that I read it again, I don't have as many problems with the end, but I feel like the end dragged on a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially like the last two chapters I thought were good, but before that it felt like a little bit like nothing was happening, and like it felt like a little bit at a standstill, even though a lot of things were going on. I don't know how to explain that. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
like it was like static, but also like still things were still progressing.
Right. Yeah. I feel like there was stuff going on, but it was more like setting up pieces than like
Yeah, for sure.
it just didn't feel as like it felt a little clumsier, like necessary, but
Hmm.
also like yeah. Um,
Totally. Yeah.
and yeah, how do you feel about Makima? I have the page up where she's hugging him for the first time, or they first when they first meet.
I loved her at the beginning. I think she was like one of my favorite characters at the beginning. I like her and Himeno, and I like Aki a
Hmm.
lot in the beginning. And kind of as it went on, I guess we'll talk about it when we get to it, basically. But I think when she started showing up a lot more, I didn't like her as much.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Just because she's not really she's like a character, but she's not super compelling to me.
Okay.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I feel like she was too opaque through the whole thing. Like she was more of just like a elemental
Mysterious.
force. Yeah, mysterious and like a threatening figure, but I didn't really put a lot of stock into her character. Um,
Hmm.
but I kind of do like her like of like the personality that we do see. There's this kind of like she's not like like capital E evil. Like she has this like weird and admiration for Chainsaw Man, and she also like despite being like the control devil, she has this like sense of tenderness towards humans and devils also that I think is
Yeah.
interesting. And you finally see that later, like way later, when she like invites Denji over to her house, and she's like, she has all her like huskies and dogs or whatever. Um, yeah, so I think she's interesting, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, when we talk later about her, like, you know, raison d'etre of like why she's doing everything, I was
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah, I think I started to like her a lot more like when she was exhibiting her powers just because they don't really explain it. Like she's not like I think it's a little bit predictable like what ends up happening in terms of Makima's character, but
hmm,
when she starts like showing her like her capabilities, you're kind of like, oh, this is what is she doing? Like you can't even really tell what she's doing. So I think that's when I was like, oh, like I kind of like her, but like I also don't know.
right,
Just
yeah,
because like I think most of like the intrigue about her is that she's very mysterious and she's very like kind of like unattainable for Denji because Denji right off the bat like kind of sees her as like a mother figure but also like has a crush on her.
right, right,
So he has like a little bit of both. Like he has like a very soft spot towards her, and like it seems like a lot of her subordinates just really love her, which ends up coming up again later as to
yeah,
why. But at the beginning, it just seems like, oh, she's like this like pretty and like mysterious woman that doesn't really show up that much, but everyone loves her. So it's like I
yeah.
think that's kind of why I think it's an interesting character, kind of predictable. Like I don't mind it though.
Hmm. Yeah, she's kind of like, um, I feel like her character is kind of trying to be like, since I finished watching Kakegurui, like Yumiko, where she has this
But
like
yeah.
kind of like motive that only she understands, and that's what I was kind of hoping for, but it ended
Hmm.
up like not being like that. I felt like it was a little more, not as interesting a motive, but you know,
It's a bit more basic.
yeah. How do you feel about Power?
I love Power.
she,
I really like her. I think I feel like again, like the characters, like they feel like archetypes. Like a lot of them don't really feel super developed just because a lot of them just show up and they die. Like
yeah,
after they show up. So there isn't a lot of time to be able to get attached to them, but I quite like Power for like being this, rough on the outside, soft on the inside,
hmm,
kind of like childish character.
right,
There was just something like really appealing about like the way she and Denji and like Aki all got along together, and like it was quite sweet. And especially when I was rereading it, I felt like pretty emotional like during her parts because I feel like because her and Denji are so similar, but she's much more expressive somehow, even though she's like kind of more. She seems like a little bit less human, like less literate in human emotions.
yeah, for sure.
So, but like I feel like because of that, she has like a little bit more honesty than he does, just because he's repressing like a lot of, horrible memories that he's had, and she kind of has a little bit less of a filter in that
Mm-hmm.
sense. Like she's more transparent about like her desires.
Right. Yeah, she's
You
a.
like her? You like her?
I do like her. I liked it. I feel like her kind of like not development, but like her when she finally talks about her emotions towards Denji, like later. I think it came too late. Like
Yeah, I could see that.
I love when she gets. I forget which devil it is that scares her, but then she can't. She doesn't sleep alone anymore. Like she's scared. Um, and
I do remember that.
Denji like starts sleeping in the bed with her, and he like has to bathe with her because she's afraid to like be alone or whatever. I thought that was really cute. And also they're like this isn't hot at all. Like when they're in the
Yeah.
bath together, and they're like this should be hot, but it's not hot at
They're like
all.
holding each other. They have like kind of like a weird, like non-sexual relationship. But it's also a little bit pseudo-sexual. I don't really know.
I just really love the inclusion of like kind of like a dopey, um, you know, I guess like a shonen protagonist, but it's like a girl. Like it's just like that's a very basic like trope, I guess, but I feel like I don't see that much of just like they're both like kind of equally dumb and like super extroverted and just kind of like, you know, flying by the seat of their pants, making decisions like I don't know. I found her very charming.
Yeah, Cosmos is Darkness Devil. It's like
Okay, okay.
when everyone got their shit fucked up.
Yeah, that was crazy.
But yeah, I really liked this one fight that's on the screen. Well, it's not a fight yet, but they're like, they're about to fight, where they have like this extremely dark hatching and lots of spot black.
Oh, is that the bat one?
Pretty cool. Yeah, the bat.
Okay,
I
yeah.
like that one. Um, I feel like it's kind of interesting because I feel like his art's like a little bit inconsistent. Like there's a lot of like weirdly uncool areas in terms of character design. Like
Like Aki?
um yeah, like Aki, like he would be like a typical like dark-haired shonen character, but he has like this like little
His
ponytail on the
tuft.
top of his head. Like it just
Yeah.
looks ridiculous. It's like a little piece of grass, but I really liked him as well.
Hmm.
and and yeah, there's like a lot of like area, like this page with like the bat, like it's super hatchy, like it's super like detailed, and then some
Hmm.
of the other ones are just not as detailed. But I feel like overall I like the art quite a bit,
Hmm.
especially like after reading a couple of series where the art I felt like wasn't really up to snuff. Like I think that this is quite good, especially like for something that's digitally inked, and obviously digitally inked. I think it has a lot of character and it has a lot
Mm-hmm.
of texture.
Totally.
What are your thoughts about like the art and like kind of what you like about it, what you don't like?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would agree with that style wise. Definitely spotty. Sometimes like the inking isn't as like cared for. Like I would say this
Mm-hmm.
is a good example of like a peak, like where he really took a lot of care with like the hatching, like you said. And I
Mm-hmm.
also think he does it really well when he is drawing like really busy fight scenes. He gets very um, like Tsutomu Nihei ish, which I think is really cool. That someone has drawn inspiration from Tsutomu in that like very textural way, which I think is not like a popular style to like adopt and draw from.
Yeah, I think because it's just so involved.
Yeah,
It's not really like an easy way to work, especially if you're working like with inks versus something else that would be easier to put down marks.
yeah, definitely. But I think where he really shines is like I mean the thing that I remember the earliest going around was the framing and how he sets
Oh
up
yeah, totally.
sequences of images. So like the shot where Aki's got his like little fox, he's doing like his little fox hand.
Yeah.
I know that blew up on Twitter and everyone like loved that, thought it was genius, and it is really smart. And I think he does that throughout. There's like sequences where like a character will like kind of like blot out characters' heads with their finger, and then in the
Yeah.
next shot they're like beheaded or
Yeah.
something. So yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff in that respect that I think is really interesting.
Yeah, I think visually he plays with that a lot, which I think is cool. There were times where I was kind of like, there's a little bit too much of that like visual wittiness. Like it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like conveying as much as I wanted it to, because especially with fight scenes, I'm like, I already have like, I don't know, not like fight dyslexia. I think that's a little bit too severe to call it that, but I also
Mm-hmm.
like don't really know what's going on immediately. So if there's not a lot of clarity in fight scenes, I get lost really easily, especially
Right.
like the arc where they're like in the hotel is just like, I don't know what's happening. Like I know something bad is happening, but I can't really tell like what is going on,
Yeah.
like the direction of action basically.
Yeah.
But I would say for the most part, I feel like it is super effective,
Mm-hmm.
really fun to look at. And like, even if I don't know what's going on, I'm like, okay, I'm buying it. I don't know. I'm like picking up whatever you're putting down.
Yeah. How do you feel about Aki's character? I feel like he's has the most like complex backstory, but I'm not, and also the one that I feel like is given the most like page time, like
Yeah,
addressing his
his
hangups and
trauma.
past and like yeah, yeah. How do you feel about him?
I liked him a lot. Um, he's kind of like, I feel like he's his type of character, like kind of like the dark, like unemotional, traumatized one.
Broody, yeah,
Yeah,
traumatized broody
broody,
boy.
like tends to like it can go either way. Like he's either my most favorite character or my least favorite character. Like that type of character is like the brooding secondary lead,
Right.
basically. But I really liked him. I feel like a lot of his scenes were like had a really big emotional impact. Like I liked all the flashbacks with Himeno where like she's giving him cigarettes and stuff like that. Or like it kind of shows how much they care about each other and kind of almost have this romantic relationship but can't fulfill it just because of their line of work.
Right.
Um, and like there's this I feel like having both of those characters kind of talk about each other gives more insight into their characters as well, just because Himeno's like barely in Chainsaw Man, like she dies
Mm-hmm.
really early on.
Yeah.
Um, but I really liked that dynamic. It was I feel like that was one of the most for me, like I think Himeno and Aki and like the Angel and
Mm-hmm.
Aki and Denji and Power, those are like the most um significant relationships to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I like Aki is interesting. Like he wants to be like, you think he would kind of almost become a villain in a sense if he's if you're following like this sort of like
Sasuke
Naruto.
route.
Yeah, yeah, that's like no Sasuke route.
A
Like that's
Sasuke way of doing things.
yes, very. But he ends up, I think at one time at one point Makima calls him like a normie or something. Like he's just not he like's not cut out for this life, even though he's like very
Very
motivated.
dedicated. Yeah, dedicated and motivated to the lifestyle.
Yeah, but he just doesn't have that like kind of madness that you need to like dedicate yourself to like killing these devils and also these like devil human hybrids.
Yeah.
And I kind of love that he's just kind of like he's not like a failure to launch. I think it's just like he's realizing like okay, actually I'd rather die than be forced to like lose my humanity by exterminating people, you know?
Yeah, he has like this very he's like a little bit conflicted in that sense, and I like that about him just because he comes off pretty one-dimensional when you first meet him, and then you kind of get more and more insight into why he's like that and kind of like the way other people see him, which is,
Mhm.
you know, he acts kind of cold and hard, but he's not like that at all. Like he's quite, you know, empathetic and like soft and like caring for other people. He's just like, you know, just based off of his whole family getting killed by the gun devil, he like is trying to shield himself, but he's like also unable to stop himself from forming these like really deep relationships with everyone. So he's
Yeah.
like kind of screwing himself over in that sense. But that's kind of his charm, was that he was like he's like kind of unaware, but he's also like kind of aware of being out of his depths.
Yeah.
But like the entire scope of it is not apparent until much later, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
yeah, I really like these parts. These like flashback parts, where like, you know, they're just talking about like kind of all their stuff. And I love the Angel Devil.
Yeah, same. I was just going to bring
They were
them up.
They're very cute together. And I feel like that's kind of like the only ship that I saw of Chainsaw Man, like at least from what I saw, because from like fan art,
Oh,
Chainsaw
okay.
Man fan art Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah, I find I actually kind of like the boldness of like how quickly Himeno was like dispatched in the story, because
Hmm.
she's like has like it's not quick enough where you like don't know this character at all. Like she has two like very prominent like plot beats with these characters. So like how she dies and makes a deal with the devil, um
Hmm.
with that, I forget what the devil's name is that she does. I have the image.
Ghost.
Yeah, she's like a ghost with like lots of arms, and then also her vomiting into Denji's mouth, as she goes to kiss him.
Iconic.
Yeah, yeah, amazing.
Absolutely iconic. Yeah, she makes a really big impact for like how quickly she like appears and then eventually like disappears.
Yeah.
I
So
love I
I
love this part.
yeah,
I love
it's
the
so good.
sequence. It's just so like because you don't really quite understand her powers at this point.
Hmm.
So like when she actually starts like, sacrificing like her whole body just to save Aki, it's like it's very sad,
Yeah, it's amazing.
but also like pretty cool. Like
Hmm. Also, just like the design of this devil that she has, it's like
so nasty
the
and scary.
arm legs and like the daisy body. It's like great.
And like the kind of like scary face.
Yeah, but also it's like angelic.
Yeah, kind of like peaceful and angelic, but she's all it's, I find like the parts with like they're sacrificing you know, years of their lives or like, their limbs to the devils to be really interesting. I think that's kind of like my favorite part of the world building was that that was like a thing. It's
Hmm.
kind of like dependent on like what the personality of the devil is too.
Right. Yeah.
Or like any of like the fiends. Like it was interesting to see like what they attach themselves to and what they wouldn't be
Hmm.
okay with. Like they wouldn't want to eat like other other like nasty mean devils or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I also like the visuals of their body vanishing. Like a lot of their like the
Yeah,
arms
like
go
their
first.
sleeves.
Yeah. I love that a lot.
Yeah, their
Um,
arms always go first. Like that's like a big thing was that they were just constantly losing their arms.
yeah, very Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah, very very much like my worst fear.
Yes. Um, yeah, I love. Let's see, screen cap that first image with like Makima where she's like on the subway.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Those are so good.
Very ominous because you're yeah, you're still not aware of what kind of person she is.
Yeah.
You don't know anything about her.
How do you
That was
feel
when
about
like
her? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
oh no, that was when all the assassins were killing all the devil hunters.
Yes.
Sorry, that was all I want to add. It
Yes. It was really, really good. How do you feel about her like reveal as like the controlled devil? To me, it was like,
was really funny to me, I feel.
yeah, I was like, wait, this person who controls people is actually a controlled devil. Like, it just felt very like I'm like, like,
Maybe because all the other like like cool synonyms were taken, like power and stuff like that.
I guess it was just like funny. Like she's like I understand that she's controlling people and making it like a magical ability. It was just like kind of funny, like very on the like exactly on the nose that it was like this is not really a reveal. Like I'm like okay, so
Yeah.
she just can forcibly control people. Got it. But yeah,
I guess it's like I guess it just plays into the whole thing because I don't think anything is really subtle
yeah,
in
yeah,
this series, so it doesn't stand out to me as being like even less subtle because it's just like everything. The shark fiend is a shark, like stuff like
yeah,
that, where
yeah.
it's like, and the angel devil is like a devil. That's an angel. Like there's not like a whole lot of um I don't know. There's not a whole lot of depth in that sense.
Yeah, true. I think it was just like the execution of how she was revealed to be the control devil.
Yeah.
I felt like I was supposed to be like surprised.
There's a lot of build up for sure for like
Yeah.
what it is.
Oh man. Um yeah, I'm trying to like there's so I feel like the bulk of the middle is very kind of like monster of the week. Like I don't think there's like huge plot or character developments and like besides like Denji's like sense of self like deteriorating as he becomes like more devil. But yeah, I don't know, like are there any like standout moments? I'm kind of scrolling through your caps. Like we have like the memory of him and like a door when
Oh
he
yeah,
was
he's like
younger.
having he has like some repressed memory of like a door that he's not really even sure where it leads to.
Yeah.
Kind of like a disembodied voice telling him not to open the door, but um in the middle part, do you mean like the part where it's like with the what's her face? Bomb Devil?
Yeah, Bomb Devil is
made notes.
great.
I made notes when I was like rereading it because I couldn't remember a lot of the things. Um I think I didn't. I don't know. I feel like I didn't really mind it. It was a little bit monster of the week. Like I feel like all the stuff with there were certain parts where I was just like, I don't know who these characters are.
Yeah, I think that's also
I don't
like
really know what this means.
like Reza or whatever. Like I thought she was a character we had already seen because her only like character design difference was like she had like a bang, like a small bang. But like they all kind of look very similar, so it was like yeah, I don't know.
Caleb says, I think the buildup is done very nice. Yeah, I wouldn't say that it was necessarily sloppy or anything. Because I
Yeah,
feel like,
no.
when I was reading it, I was just like, what the hell is going on? And then I was like, okay, I accept this. I
Yeah.
accept your explanation.
Yeah, and I feel like that's like a monster of the week structure is like not it's not like a bad thing. It's just like I feel like I get lost in all the monsters that Denji goes up against, like all the devils. Like we have Darkness Devil, we have like Doll Devil, we have I don't know, too many devils. But
Yeah, there was a lot of different elements being introduced, especially in like that international assassin part where there's like all
oh
these
yeah.
assassins coming from everywhere to kill Denji.
Yeah.
But I did quite like a lot of the scenes in this, like the Darkness Devil, like really scared me, and I was like, I don't know what this means.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
Like a
I
lot of
love
really
the
cool like attacks, I guess,
yes.
ways to portray that.
Yeah, I
Like I
love
love this
that.
like astronaut page. Scared the crap out of me.
Yeah. It's very disturbing. I also love the Darkness Devil, that like 2-page splash where he's like kind of taken all their arms and they're kind of floating above their heads.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, it's very like unsettling.
Yeah. And
And
of
also
course the
like
design.
oh, yeah, all their arms are like kind of in motion, like they're like trying to fight it, but they can't.
Yeah.
Um, and the design of like the bodies being legs, it's just
Yeah.
like it's kind of incomprehensible for sure. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I think that's where it shines is like the action scenes are really fun and well done, but when there's some sort of weird
Visual element,
yeah, or like effect that a devil has that's not just like, oh, I have a weapon now.
exploding things or like cutting things or shooting
Yeah.
them.
Like that's fun, but I found Darkness Devil pretty interesting and unique.
Yeah,
I love this page with the arms as panels. That was great.
yeah. The panel dividers.
Yeah. And then of course we have is the devil with the face legs is that's doll devil, right?
Yeah, that's Doll Devil.
Okay.
Santa Claus.
Yeah, that's right. And then she consumed the Darkness Devil. Is that correct?
I
I think so.
I actually I don't remember. I don't actually. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel
Someone
like
else can probably.
yeah,
Probably.
if you know, let us know in the comments.
Honestly, like for some of I think she did consume it because then that's the Halloween stuff. Because some of it I was like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm just gonna go along for it with it for the
Yeah.
ride.
Yeah, there was a lot. She had a very interesting power too. It was like, was it anything she could see or like something with shadows? She took over people if she touched their shadows. Like,
You could like make dolls,
yeah, yeah. There was just like
That's
a
a
lot
lot-
of rules
and
with
like
her, with how her power
like
worked.
she could like mind transfer between the dolls and stuff, and
Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
it's like a very straight like it was pretty crazy. She was really overpowered for sure.
Yeah.
But I do like the Halloween thing. What was
Yes.
it?
Oh yeah, I should pull up the
Oh
cap.
yeah, like the Cosmos Devil when she's like, you can only think of Halloween until you die, which like
Yes.
really made me laugh because I was like, because I do remember reading that, but I just had forgotten it because I was like, you know, there's just so much, so many different visual elements.
Yeah. Oh, here, I pulled it
Gotta
up.
love that curse.
Yeah, it's so amazing.
It's
Oh,
like so weird because it's just like, what is that? What does that mean? You know, like
yeah.
it's very funny to me. It's like funny and like strange.
Mm-hmm. Man. Yeah, I'm like
I also
scrolling.
I really like the Angel Devil's kind of like attack power
Oh,
where
right, okay.
he's using like a certain amount of time to like be able to fight people.
Yeah, he like can say this like weapon costs like 10 years and it'll be stronger or whatever. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty sweet.
So I kind of like those like, you know, it's not like the most it's not a typical like weapon or like power really.
Yeah, totally. Um yeah, how do you feel about I'm trying to see what the next I guess like the next like biggest like plot point that comes to mind is Aki turning into Gun
A gun
Devil.
devil.
Yeah, how do you feel about that? Did that hit you emotionally? Do you think that like
I was pretty
worked?
sad about it.
Yeah.
I was pretty upset, like to be completely honest. I was quite upset. Um, I mean, because you kind of know that his death is coming because of like all his different contracts with devils, like
Mhm.
taking away his like life and kind of predicting his death. But I liked it quite a lot because it's just like, you know, it has like the fight scene with him and Denji, but also like has this weird like mind scene like where they're interacting as children
Oh yeah, and like
and like
throwing
having like the
snowballs at
snowball
each other.
fight.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
like
good.
it's kind of like that moment like right before his whole family dies basically. And it's like and they both like kind of don't recognize what it is, but it's like very sad just because I don't know. I feel like that one hit me like pretty well. Like I was
Yeah.
like I'm very upset about this. I can't handle it.
Yeah. And like him finally he was like my life is kind has finally gotten fun when he's like
Oh
playing
yeah.
snowballs with Denji, like throwing snowballs. I
He's
was
like
like,
dead.
"Ah." Oh, yeah, that was brutal. And also like he's not just attacking Denji, like he's killing everyone in between as well, which is something he's like he's not like a killer character, so you
Yeah,
know
it's like very
this would like
against
ruin his soul if he knew that he was just like massacring humans.
yeah, against character type
Yeah.
for sure. And I love I think I saved like a screen cap of that one cover where like it's like Denji and Power and Aki all together at an aquarium.
Oh
They're like
yeah.
kids.
Oh, it's so sad. I'm pulling it up. Ah.
It's really sad to me. I was just like I love the whole dynamic. I love
Yeah.
that Denji and Power are kind of like Shinji and Asuka from like Kelly and like they have this weird like kind
Yeah.
of like sibling relationship, but it's like a little bit tense, but also like not really. It's like
Uh-huh.
a very odd, affected by teenage hormone type deal.
Yeah, totally. Oh, so cute. So sad.
Yeah, and I liked I liked all the like little moments with like Aki and the angel devil. Like when like Aki touches him for the first time, he's like, "What are you doing? Like you're not supposed to touch me," because it's like takes away other people's lives,
Yeah.
basically.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was quite I thought it was a good development. Even, you know, the character that can't be touched being touched
I know,
because it's
yeah.
like you have to do it.
Yeah, it's pretty
You
a
gotta have
potent
it.
trope.
And we also liked Quan Chi's like harem,
Oh, yeah, that
including
was
Halloween.
so good. Let me see if I have a screen cap of her. Oh, yeah, here I have it.
And there's
Yeah.
also like yeah, they also had like the chapter where like she's with all of them, I think was censored or something. Like I remember reading about it because I had to like I forget like where I had to like find the chapter elsewhere or something because it was just like this is too explicit. Like
Oh, really? That's funny.
whatever. I forget
Oh.
which chapter it is. It's like 59 or something.
Oh, okay, okay.
I love her. She's cool though.
Yeah, I love when she's on the phone and she's like, "Give my girls an education and human rights."
Yeah.
Oh, that was funny. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
really
honestly, like I like them. I feel like they didn't have a lot of screen time, but I still like them quite a bit.
yeah, totally. I have the
Mm.
screen cap saved. I don't remember from what chat. Well, it's during the assassin fight, but where she's like running through the building, then she's like bisecting everyone by like their waists.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty amazing. I love that. And I don't remember what situation this was, but the giant hand descending on the building and then
Oh, that
crushing
like
it.
six-fingered hand or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then it kind of cuts to it closed in a fist. And there's like ants, and it's like disembodied now, or like dismembered. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's like a very. I feel like for how literal the actual story is, I think that there's a lot of visual elements that are very not literal. Like,
Hmm.
this is cool, but what does this mean? Um, I do remember seeing that. I just don't really remember the context of it.
Yeah, same. Also, the Gun Devil. Did you like his reveal, where they finally like
I
show him in all his glory?
I don't know. Honestly, like I feel like the Gun Devil was a bit of a letdown for me, just because I feel
Mm.
like I wasn't really. I didn't feel either way about it, really.
Okay, okay. I
'Cause there
kind
was a
of
lot more.
no.
Oh,
You
sorry.
you
Go ahead.
finish. You finish.
I was just gonna say that there's just a lot more that kind of made an effect on me in
Hmm.
that sense, where I was like, damn, this sucks. Like, so the Gun Devil's a bit not like a letdown, I guess, but
Hmm.
more like this is kind of cool, but I don't care right now.
Yeah, I feel that.
Given like all the other stories and all the backstories and stuff.
Yeah.
I think
Uh.
another thing that I really liked,
Hmm.
especially later on, I liked kind of like the Power versus Makima fight,
Okay. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
at the
Hmm.
very end. I like that quite a bit. I just like Power. I mean, it's like, I feel like she's kind of a fan favorite. I think Makima's a fan favorite too, but like I feel like Power is like a really, really fun just because she's just so like so honest and like open about things. I mean, I know
Yeah.
you said that you think it came a little bit late,
Hmm.
and I think I agree with that, but I also feel like when I read it again, it made sense that it was in the place that it was,
Hmm.
given like I don't know everything else going on. Like it made sense for there to be even more at the end, which I think supplemented their relationship and their dynamic with her and Denji, basically.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think her. I don't think that the like that development came late. I feel like she just wasn't really addressed at all until
Yeah,
that
it kind of
point. Like it wasn't like
yeah
yeah, it was kind of like surface, 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 and then like oh, actually, you're my friend, and da 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 da, and like um, it just felt like unbalanced a bit. But I agree, it's like where it is perfect for like you know
yeah for like the end, kind of like being this last motivating thing.
yeah, totally. Yeah, with the Gun Devil, I think just like not just like the design is really funny, but the fact that the chapter that this is in when they reveal him is like
Or like all those names.
it's just like yeah, huge list of names of all the people that it kills, and like it also shoots people specifically, so it's like only people like it shoots bullets but it only hits people like under 15 or something, or it only shoots
Yeah.
like women of specific. I don't know, it was just like really funny. I like that was its like I don't know quirk like
Yeah, it's like why?
uh,
Like I don't know. It's like a bit like it's kind of reminds me of when people make fun of like Thanos, just like they're like I would do that too, you know.
yeah.
Like I think it's just one of those things where it's kind of like it's kind of unexpected just because there's not really a lot of attention paid to that sort of thing
Right.
typically.
Yeah.
Like the fact that there's like a preference for anything is like very funny to me.
Yeah, for sure. Um. So yeah, after this reveal, or I guess after Aki dies, I'm trying to think of what happens next. Like, is that basically the point where he's kind of gives himself up to Makima? Like,
Yeah.
let's see. find the page.
I would say that that's basically what happens.
Yeah. I love the page where he's like, she's like, "You're serious about this?" And he's just like, "Peace sign," and then and she's like, "You're sure?"
Yeah.
And he's just like so indifferent.
I love that he just like for every time someone asks him if he's like sure about something, like when Kishibe asks him at the end if he's sure, he does the peace sign again. I'm just like,
Yeah, he's just like so
he has a lot of
like cutely hopeless, I guess.
yeah. He's like he's really like emotionally constipated. Like throughout the whole thing, like he's just not really able to express himself properly. He doesn't really have like social skills.
Yeah.
He is like a dog because he hasn't been socialized. He doesn't know how to like be around people.
Yeah.
So it's I feel like it's kind of fun and like a cute thing that Aki and Power, even though Power is also kind of the same, were able to bring that out of him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interest. Like, how do you read this in like his character arc? This like giving up of like his autonomy, like.
I don't know. I feel like all of this is a little bit not like hard for me to parse, but I was like, I think this, especially for me, this is the point where I was like kind of losing interest because I was reading it week by week, and I was like, so it would be like, you know, the dog chapters, and then like you would see the part where like Kobeni's working at that family restaurant or like the burger restaurant, and then like is forced to go on a date with Chainsaw Man basically, and I was like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Like guys, I need to know what's happening. And like, because it's like, you know, I feel like especially after Aki dies, it's like everyone gets pretty untethered in that sense. So it's like, you know, Power and Denji are both like, you know, in outer space basically, and like right after Denji's like, I'll give up to like, you know, to Makima, that's when like she just like, you know, kills Power.
Yeah.
Very pissed off about that, and like doesn't get really addressed after that.
Yeah.
Until like until she kind of comes back as a devil.
Yeah.
To fight Makima. I think her devil version is very cute too.
Makima's or you mean Power as like
Power.
Oh yeah, Power has such a good design. I love it. Let me see if I can.
Like it's like really simple and like kind of like.
She's kind of got like that doggy face and then like really long legs, and yeah, it's really good.
And like, and I love when she has her little speech with Denji where she's saying like, you know, when I come back, I'm not going to be the same person, but like if you meet like the blood devil, then like be friends with the blood devil.
Yeah.
I was like, that's so cute. Like, I don't know, they're both like little like animals.
Yeah, pretty much.
Little wild animals. So like them developing a friendship, I feel like that was pretty well done, pretty organic.
Yeah, they have like this like feral friendship that I really like.
Yeah, they were like kind of rivals, and they're kind of like, I guess you're just here. Like,
yeah.
And then they were friends.
Yeah, really good. Yeah. So how do you feel about the ending arc? You know, with Makima's reveal of her like motivations.
I think by then I was kind of like, Makima's not as cool as I thought she was. What about you?
I felt pretty underbaked, I guess, for me. There's also a bunch of like information that's suddenly dumped. Like Chainsaw Man can like erase people's existences.
Because like people don't know what the Holocaust is because Chainsaw Man ate it or something or destroyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it was just like a bit too much. Like there's too much.
Whenever people bring up like the Holocaust, it's like, especially in a story like this, like not in like a historical sense, like not in a real world sense, it's kind of like takes me out of it for a bit because I'm just like, this is really like not appropriate.
Yeah, I'm like, do we have to reference this in this setting? Like,
yeah, like can we not talk about something that, you know, all the other horrible things have happened in this series itself? Like, do we have to like ground it that way? I thought it was a little bit weird because like there isn't really any mention of any of that stuff before.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, and also it's like I don't feel like this motivation that she's taught like she's expounding on about like making the world a happier place has ever been tangible prior to this story, like in this story at all.
Yeah, and I don't totally buy that that's what she wants. Like, I guess, like, it can kind of be shoehorned into being that, but, like, her character doesn't really reveal that much about, wanting to do this at all. So it's a bit, I feel like, yeah, I think that's kind of when her character lost me a bit, just because it's like, I get all the devil stuff and it's cool, like when you can see her like intestine halo and stuff, but
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
like I think a lot of like the explanations didn't really land for me.
Yeah. And also this is like I like this moment where she's like to be eaten by Chainsaw Man and become part of him. There's like no greater honor. Like to me that would have been a solid motivation. And I feel like
Yeah, like she could have just said that, and like she didn't have to be like, "Oh, I want the world to be better," because it's not really better. I mean, it's like they've erased like tons of horrible things that have already happened, but they still did happen, and there's still bad things happening. So it's like, what exactly is your point?
yeah, it was pretty nonsensical how she explained herself.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I would have rather have had it just been like she's a huge Chainsaw Man fan and
yeah.
wants to
Yeah.
die by his hand, which is like I think the other series I've seen that in was like Golden Kamuy, which I thought was really funny. Like when
Mm-hmm.
that one guy was like, "I really want to be killed by Sugimoto," and I was like, I love that character. I think something like that is just it's so unbelievable to me because it's not really like a thing, but within fiction, I think it's really funny and fun.
Yeah, totally.
And oh shoot, I forgot like this other thing I was gonna mention. Now I can't. Now it's like evaporating. Okay, well, let's just move on.
Okay.
It's fine.
Cosmos says she wants to be Vord. And yes, that's true. Very true.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's also such a like a weird, like I don't know. Yeah, I get it. Like I would understand the vor aspect of it more than like,
yeah.
the kind of false altruism, like a bit of like that Thanos altruism, which is not really
Yeah.
altruism at all.
Yeah, it's very yeah, I don't know. I felt like this was kind of total very messy, her motives. But I do like also this part where Chainsaw Man is going to get a burger, and I love how this is like inset in this like very dramatic
Oh my God.
fight.
Yeah, reading week to week with that, I was just like, guys, you're really making it hard for me to keep up with this because it's just like, week after week of this like burger and like the DDR stuff and like all this. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, Kobeni is like a very, it's kind of funny that she's like this comic relief because she's not really funny, but I think like within her whole arc in the story, I think it's quite funny that she ends up being this like not like the butt of the joke because she's like she has a lot of persistence, but she's definitely made fun of in that sense because she just seems to like hate it the most, but she's like the one that's able to live the longest.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this part, I mean, I wasn't reading this week to week. I read it all in one go, and just like this was like killing me because it's like she dumps burgers on him like 3 times. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah, I was like, what is happening here? And then there's like
yeah,
this
it was so
amazing,
hard to understand.
and this amazing panel with her like crying and doing
She
like
was like,
dance like,
yeah, it's
uh,
like insane, and like I'm just like, what is he doing? Like he's just hanging out
oh.
or what?
Yeah, he's just like watching, I guess.
Yeah, it was a very it's like a little bit odd, and I guess I think now that I skimmed it again, I was like, okay, can I appreciate this a little bit more? Just because at the time I was like, I can't. I want to know what happens. Like I don't, cause especially because I knew it was ending soon, and I was like, what is happening? But like, given these little moments, it makes sense to me, kind of.
Yeah, and this is kind of like this like death fantasy in his head, right? This
Yeah,
is
I think
not,
so.
but also it's actually happening. I was like kind of unsure. Like, is this like was this like a side story that the mangaka was doing, or was this literal? Because then also, like, right after this, Denji's like gone, right? He kind of like retreats.
I don't really know because I feel like I don't really totally understand his
Right.
like I don't his corporeal powers, like what his body can do. So I just
Uh-huh.
kind of assumed that it was happening at the same time for some reason, which is maybe why I was so confused because I was just like, I don't know what's happening. I guess this is happening now. I don't know.
Yeah, because he's like, he ends up going back to the apartment, I think, and like talking to Kishibe about like
Yeah.
planning stuff, but I don't know. There is a lot of setup that I didn't think was clear at all. So it's just like, okay, I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
I think
gloss
that's
over this.
yeah, I think that's kind of that plays into like a little bit of my initial disappointment at the ending because I was like, okay, like reading it week to week, like as opposed to reading it all at once, which, I think that that is how a lot of people read manga now.
Yeah,
I would probably recommend people read Chainsaw Man like in its entirety and not like just in chapter segments because the chapters are so short. They're like 16 pages or something. So it's like, so when there's stuff like the Kobeni date, it's like a little bit like disorienting.
right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like it kind of like the momentum kind of stops a bit. It's like it's hard to just keep on going after that, I think.
Yeah.
But I think altogether, it makes sense altogether.
Right. Um. Yeah. Everyone was like, I was like on the tail. Like as I was reading, people were like talking about this ending. And I guess
Hmm.
people were really moved by this aspect of like the movies, like when they went on their date.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I totally forgot about that. So I think when I read this, I was like, oh my God, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Okay, anyway,
yeah,
next page.
yeah. How do you feel about that? Like, I guess I was like not. I was like, okay, like that's a fun like callback.
Yeah.
Um, but people were like
I,
really, I don't know. They seem very affected by it, but I don't know.
I haven't seen that much of that, but I'm not surprised at that. I I think it's okay. Like I just don't really find that much interest in their relationship just because there really isn't that much, at least compared to Denji's relationship with all the other characters.
Right.
So I think that, I feel like it's kind of interesting. Like it's kind of like a little funny moment because it's like, this weird philosophical difference that kind of is able to like sway him finally, even though like the whole time and even after he kills her, he's like, I don't want to kill Makima and I still like her, but like I think all the people that she killed would be upset with me if I didn't do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I think this isn't like a lot of people are talking about like how this shows like he's like more human than her still, or but I think like this moment of levity is like not supposed to be that deep, even if it's
Yeah,
like, even if her opinion in this moment is like,
the right one.
yeah, he's still like dedicated to like, okay, actually no, we should still be able to be stupid and bad,
Yeah.
but
I guess like, after discussing it with you more, it makes sense with like her whole reason, like her explanation for why she wants to like kill everyone basically is to make it better. So she's a little bit, she's got a little bit twisted and she thinks that if bad things didn't exist, then like things would be good, which isn't true. And I think a lot of people think that, but it's a very simplistic way of looking at things.
yeah, I think also too like someone like this character is like part of this like weird, this like yakuza like organization, and like has a lot of people
Yeah, even
working
though
for
they're
them, and I feel like I want more like, I want more of a cerebral motivation and having and like seeing that come to the forefront
Mhm.
rather than just like, if I controlled everything it would be fine, or like I don't know.
Yeah, I think, you know, even though they're like a government organization, they're like kind of underground, right? So like
Yeah.
it's like a bit they're like in this gray area for sure. So yeah, I think ultimately her character kind of falls apart in that. Like there's a lot of good build up, but I feel like especially given her explanations, I don't think it's that great. So I think by the
Yeah.
end I was like, I liked her at the beginning, at least way more than I like her at the end, which is just
Yeah.
and I don't know how much of that is like oh, because she's like really like a big bad, or it's, oh, she's just not that interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Could be both. I don't know. It's hard to differentiate that a little bit.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I like her more as like a mysterious force, I think. Like I wish she
Yeah,
had
kind of like
I
a,
wish she had never
you don't know if
spoken
she's good
about
or
what she
bad.
thought about her ideals.
Yeah, yeah. She like I like her Halo, but I don't really like her ideals. Like I don't think that they make that much sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this page where she's pulling out the like Pochita heart.
Yeah.
Really good. And then the whole so how do you what do you think about this execution of Denji killing Makima with the
Where he like
chainsaw?
eats her.
Or no, like how he like had a clone. It was like a
Oh,
clone chainsaw or a clone Denji, and like he pulled one over on her by like I don't know.
I thought this was pretty ridiculous, just because I feel like she's been so prepared, you know, like to like avoid death
Yeah.
previously. So I didn't really understand why it was possible, but I guess I don't know. What about you? What are your thoughts? I feel like you read it more recently, and I was kind of like,
I mean, yeah, basically kind of ridiculous. Like he's talking, he's like, yeah, I remember I had the skill to like duplicate myself.
yeah, I
Uh,
used like Power's blood and all that stuff.
yeah, I just did it. Yeah, I was again just like a lot of sudden information that we've never had before that came out of nowhere. It feels like, um, and also like she's been like murdered viciously so many times, so I wasn't sure like I guess the like Power's blood is killing her from the inside out, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't find it very well, not believable, but just like I was like, okay, this is just like the author filling in a lot of plot holes to like wrap the story up, you know?
yeah. I think because she's just so overpowered, it's like, oh, I guess this could have worked. I think maybe the idea is that they didn't know if it was gonna work either, but I don't know. Yeah, it's a little bit. It's. I think that is why it's kind of confusing or at least ridiculous. But I guess they're also not banking on the fact that she would just die from that, which is after when he eats her.
Right. Yeah. I actually really do like the um that as the climax of her demise of her being eaten as like a bento.
Yeah, it was just like a, yeah, like just like a huge buffet of food, which made me really hungry when I was reading it again because I was like, I want to eat all those things.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that looks great. But yeah, I like that as a climax instead of some big battle because I feel
Yeah,
like
it's like really, really banal.
yeah.
Nothing's really happening.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and so we have like the ending of this chapter is like Denji with Kishibe and like the control devil who's like now a little baby.
Yeah,
Uh,
like a little girl.
yeah, how did you feel about that? Like, I actually didn't really realize that they reincarnated or something, these devils. Like,
I mean, I assumed that was what happened. But there were like varying explanations for what happens when devils die.
okay.
So, I mean, I I don't know. I think it's a little bit obvious, but also like I feel like it's kind of like a shonen trope, so maybe
Yeah.
it's hard for me to be like, oh, this is so ridiculous because I feel like it happens a lot. I
Okay.
think I'm okay with it ultimately. Like, I feel like it's fine, and I'd be curious to see what happens in like the next part of Chainsaw Man.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like there was a lot of really effective things. Like, I love like Pochita, I like Power, you know, I like all these different characters.
Mm-hmm.
And even though there were a lot of parts where it's like, I think a lot of things were probably sacrificed for clarity, like to make things look cool, like maybe a lot of fights are like more unclear, and maybe that's kind of why the logic is lost on me. Like maybe it
Mm-hmm.
makes sense to the author more than it does to someone who's just reading it. Um, but I think overall, it was pretty successful, especially because I recently read Promised Neverland, which kind of reminds me of this a little bit, only because I think it starts out really strong, but I think with Promised Neverland is a bit more unsuccessful at
Oh,
like
really?
tying things up and like kind of filling in plot holes, just because it's such a dark concept, and then like it kind of ends up being like okay at the end, which I feel like is not realistic. But I mean, it's for kids, so
Yeah.
can't really be like that
Gotcha.
fussed about like things getting filled in
Right, right,
artificially.
right.
What are your
Um,
thoughts about like all of this, like overall, beginning to end?
um, yeah, I would say it's really solid and has like really high points. I was just scrolling through the Pochita kind of speech at the end where he's like, "My dream was to be hugged, but I was like too strong, but
Yes,
you made it
I
come
like
true."
Rashida.
Yeah. um, and then
I like
how
this like really like kind of goofy, stupid looking mascot character. It's like super powerful.
yes, I love it. Um, and also how like he wants like the Control Devil's dream was just to be in equal relationships with others, which I thought was a cute little like end note. And it's
Yeah.
like give her lots of hugs, like that was really
Yeah, so it
adorable.
doesn't turn out like insane
Yeah.
or inhuman.
um, but yeah, I thought it was really fun. I thought it had such great momentum, and I think like I don't know, like we were talking about this last time when we were talking about like Jujutsu Kaisen, like about um shonen protagonists and how it's hard to empathize with them because they're just like all powerful.
Yeah.
And he is all powerful, but I feel like he's also very vulnerable in a way that I find that made it for me in a way that maybe like I can't even think of like a random shonen protagonist now, but I don't know, he was just like so he had such like simple dreams but also like very unattainable ones.
Yeah.
um and yeah, I liked it. I think he was a solid exploration of the shonen trope.
Yeah, he was like kind of this lost character that finds purpose and like loses things that are like really important to him, but also like gains a lot and gains a lot of perspective about himself and like grows up a lot, which I thought
Right.
was, I think looking back on it, it's quite good in that sense because he's like, you know, he starts out with just having like these, you know, he's pretty crude, I would say,
Hmm.
but also like, you know, it makes sense and it's like kind of funny. And by the end, he's like more caring about other people and like other people's needs as well.
Yeah.
So that's nice. I liked it.
Yeah, I also like the idea of him like he's not trying to like better himself, like he's kind of just doing this all for like a meal and also to like maybe
Yeah,
kiss a girl.
a kiss.
Yeah.
Like his, I thought it was really funny too, like the whole like bomb devil arc when like he's like I like two girls. It's
Yeah.
like which one should I choose? And I'm like they're not even like you can't even choose them because like you're not even you're like so far from being able to choose between these two
Yeah.
super powerful characters.
Yeah, it's just like yeah, he's like kind of pathetic in a way that
Yeah, he's like
I
in his
like.
own world. He's like in his own world in terms of like his logic, where it's like this doesn't make any sense because everyone else is on a different page, but you're like, you know, you're way behind
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah, and just being so transparent to everybody else like is really funny to me. Um
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like when he finally like chainsaws Makima at the end, like he gets a moment to be like kind of cool, like Kishibe cool.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I
he
like that.
finally was able to deceive her for a moment. Yeah,
The one time it's happened.
yeah, yeah. I don't. I mean, so like at the end of this, I didn't screen cap it, but like he's going to school now. He's gonna be in high school. Um, I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe he won't be in school. Maybe that's just like I don't know,
I guess we'll
misleading
see.
teaser. But I was kind of hoping he would be an adult if this was to continue. But yeah, I don't know.
Kind of makes you think about like how much like real time was supposed to have passed from the beginning to the end. Like,
Right.
was it like 3 months? Was it like a year?
Yeah, it does seem
And then
like pretty amorphous the time.
it feels pretty compressed, I think. Because it's like pretty nonstop. I would say that there's only like a couple of moments where you're like, okay, like, you know, they're just hanging out, but like for the most part, they're like basically fighting for their lives the whole time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see like the themes of the next one, just because I was talking about this with you, I think on previous episodes, where I was like, the trend with shonen manga is that things are like super high stakes. And
Yeah.
like you kind of lose a bit of that gravitas when like so many characters die all the time.
Yeah.
There are
Mm-hmm.
definitely character deaths that affect me a lot more in this, but like as I was like skimming through the whole thing again, I was like, whoa, there's like they would literally introduce a character and on the next page they would be dead.
Yeah.
Just like I was like, okay, didn't need that, but I guess I kind of get what you're going for, but it's also like not really sure what purpose it serves
Yeah.
for the story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like not a lot of the deaths hit me. I think Aki's death hit me emotionally, and then Power's death.
Yeah.
But everything before that, like Himeno's, I didn't like. I thought it was like relevant to their, like I thought it was a clever way to braid Aki and Denji's life and like a bit with their experiences with her, but I didn't really feel much about her death.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it's also really hard when you're doing something that's like kind of comedic like this, because then
Yeah.
everything is given like this glaze of levity, and it's hard to like feel something seriously when it's really funny.
I also
So
think it's hard because, you know, especially something like Himeno's death happens so early on, and Denji
mhm.
like kind of doesn't have like the emotional bandwidth to be able to deal with it. So he's like, would I be sad if like so and so died? I don't know. Like, would I cry? Like, because he sees Aki crying about like Himeno, and he's like, I don't feel that way. Like, is there something wrong with me? Like, do I not have a heart anymore because like I died and like what she does in my heart, whatever.
Yeah,
So I thought it was. I think it makes sense that you probably didn't feel as much. I feel like it was pretty sudden. It happens really early on in his
right.
development too, in the story and the development. So
Hmm.
the fact that like you know the characters he's with more for like longer time, like kind of get more screen time, would affect you more.
Right. Yeah, I think also what was interesting with the deaths is like characters also don't really spend time acknowledging any of their deaths.
Yeah, I'm
I've
assuming because they think that they're all gonna die. Like
Yeah, there's
they're
definitely
very
like
like
a
a sense that they're all,
depressive malaise that they're all in.
yeah. I feel like Kobeni has the most understandable reactions to potentially dying all the time because she's always like, I hate this, I want to go home and like
Yeah.
not die. Like I'll sacrifice anyone else so I won't die.
Yeah, she's the only one who has like a really strong will to live. Like,
Yeah, she's very like, I don't care like what happens to everyone else, like I want to live, like so.
yeah. Um, yeah, very interesting series. I also was like, I was trying to find like any interviews with him, but there's really none out there that are like translated at least or
Hmm.
available that aren't in print. But I did find these like little thumbnails. These are Fire Punch thumbnails for when he pitched it to his editor,
Hmm.
and they were, I just like really liked them. I don't know if
Yeah,
you
they're
can.
like little like blobby figures, right?
Yeah, they're just like little blobby figures. Just like they almost look like they're drawn on like an iPhone with like his finger, like. But
You know, a lot of time that's just how you have to get something down because there's
it's
not really
true.
like. Otherwise, you're gonna forget. What if you like think of something in the middle of the night? Then you have to put it on your phone and like.
Yeah, exactly. You just use what's available to you. You know, you don't
Yeah,
be
I
like
like it.
fussy.
Yeah, I feel like he's good at drawing. I never felt like this was a bad drawing necessarily.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
for sure.
there's a lot of like confidence in it. I think
Mm-hmm.
he does
Um,
do that thing where he like really draws to the edge of each of the spreads that I
yeah, yeah.
noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like a little bit, like sometimes I think it worked better than other times because it's like, um, you know, it would just be like right flush with the panel borders. But I think for the
Right.
most part, it was pretty successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's any other caps. Oh, I love this when they're fighting the ghost and what's her name's hand well, it's not her hand, but like her hand comes out and gives him a little cigarette.
Kohimeto.
Yeah. I love that sequence a lot. And it's like easy revenge or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Really good.
I do like that. Where it's kind of like that's like their thing. A little
Yeah.
like inside joke.
Yeah. Yeah, this was.
Cosmo said, I saw one with him and the Blade of the Immortal guy.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw that too. That was just when he was drawing Fire. What is it called? Fire Force? Fire
Fire-
Punch?
Fire Punch?
Yeah, which was interesting. Um, but yeah, I hope we can hear more from him. I was like Googling everywhere, and on YouTube there's just like there's like a fake there's something like titled by his name, but it's just like a Mexican
it's just like
guy.
a clickbait.
Yeah. I was like, dang it.
I've been tricked.
Oh yeah, the shark guy. We didn't really talk about him, but also
We love him.
A favorite.
Shark Fiend.
Yeah, Shark Fiend.
Yeah, he's really good. He's so loyal for and for what, like why does he do this? He doesn't have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked him. I liked his design. I thought it was really funny that it's just like his kind of like his eyes up or his nose up.
Mm-hmm.
And he becomes a shark and he's like unwillingly forced to be a horse.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll do anything for you, Chainsaw Man, you're like the coolest. And he's like, wait, not like this.
Yeah. And he like saves him like multiple
this.
times too. Like I love his
yeah,
dedication.
and then he like dies for him basically in the Darkness Devil.
Yeah.
Sad.
Ugh, so sad. But yeah, I think this is so solid. I'm so interested in seeing how this develops further, and yeah, I don't know. Do you have any closing thoughts for us, Leslie?
I mean, I think that his art has improved so much since Fire Punch. Like, I feel like it was a lot more like scratchy and sketchy in Fire Punch. It's a little less finished, and like I feel like Chainsaw Man has such solid art style. It'd be cool to see like how it's animated because Mappa's doing Chainsaw Man as well.
Oh, cool.
And we were just talking about Jujutsu Kaisen and like Kakegurui and stuff like that. So like I'd be interested to see how closely it follows that and how much it adds to the action, just because, as I said, I have a hard time following action, especially if it's not super obvious. But yeah, I'm excited to see more.
Yeah, same. Very exciting. Yeah, so this was Chainsaw Man. Our Chainsaw Man episode. Highly recommend. Very fun.
Cosmo said, I'm surprised you didn't show the iconic moon astronaut part. I think we did.
Oh yeah, we did earlier.
Maybe it wasn't for very long though.
Yeah, I think I scrolled through it pretty fast. But
I do like that one.
Yeah, very iconic. Agree. Yeah, so next week we will be doing Kakegerui, I think. I'm talking about the anime. I read a little bit of the manga, but it feels basically the same as the anime, and I'm being very passive with my media consumption, so
Yeah, I think I just told Sloan last week, and David Brothers co-signed my recommendation, so Sloan watched all of it, which is good.
Yes. Yeah. I had to. I'm excited to
You're
talk
like,
about
what?
it.
What are you guys talking about?
Yeah, I was like, okay. Yeah, so that'll be fun. We'll talk about that next week, and then week after we'll do some exciting critique-y like things with our art. So stay
We're gonna
tuned.
go through and try to do some sort of redlining for our own drawings or something.
Yeah. People were not happy about I tweeted that yesterday. And I'm like, yeah, this was something we used to do on like Okaki boards, is like taking someone's drawing for critique and like going over it in redline to be like, oh, maybe you could change it here or just this. But this is not something that's normally done by people, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I was telling Sloan that I feel like artists that grew up in that age of like DeviantArt and like Ookaki really got like, a good primer into how mean people are.
Yeah.
With like, you could get someone who's like critiquing your work and like saying what you could change, and like even though you already finished it.
Yeah.
Or you could just have people not respond at all, which is probably worse because they just have nothing to say.
Yeah.
There's no helping that, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we can bring a bit of that energy back.
Yeah, I think it could be fun.
Even though I don't think I can be as mean as I was as a teen, because I was pretty bad.
Yeah. We're not like trying to like bully people.
Yeah, we don't want to bully people, and I feel
well, I may
like
bully
it's
you
not
because I
really...
know you, and I know you can take
Yeah,
it,
you can
so.
bully me because you know me, and like people might take it the wrong way, but like that's life.
Yeah, true.
But it has been really interesting to kind of see like, you know, how people feel about that sort of thing, just because I totally get it, you know, like I don't like hearing that I did something not perfect either, but that's just how it is.
Yeah,
and I think the more feedback you get that isn't just like, oh, this is perfect, like don't change it, I think the more helpful it is.
Yeah, for sure. And like
it's easier to stomach when you get way more too.
Mm-hmm. And also I think it's an interesting, like, this is something that's done also in like critique groups and like educational settings for like personal like growth for artists, like, you know, like master studies or but I think it'd be interesting to like, and we actually did this with our mentees, like they showed us their thumbnails and sketches and we kind of sketched over them, showing where things could be like composed more clearly. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting, so something to look forward to.
Yeah, that'll be in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I gotta dig through and find some old stuff. I'm excited to look.
Sounds good.
Sweet. All right, you want to sign us out?
Okay, so you can reach the podcast at saltandhoneypod. You can email us at saltandhoneypod@gmail.com, and also leave comments if you want to see us do anything specific. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep going on like whatever train we're on.
Yeah.
But yeah, really appreciate anyone who's coming to the streams and like watching and hanging out and chatting. And yeah, you can find me, Leslie, at Leslie Hung on Twitter, even though I don't tweet, and I still haven't been tweeting since the last time I said I don't tweet. And at Dairy Free on Instagram, where I also don't post.
You have a very healthy brain.
Yeah, I have like, you know, I gotta take care of me first, which means like not posting on social media.
Yeah, valid. Yeah, I'm Sloan on Twitter, sloanson.com, Sloan Leong on Instagram. And yeah, we will see you next week. Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.